I currently have a massive problem. I am locked to this area of the RuneScape map until I can complete my current chunk tasks. That includes getting to level 88 smithing to make a adamant blade body. However, unlike any normal account, I can't just train smithing a normal way. I don't even have access to a furnace. So in order to get any supplies to train smithing in the first place, I need to smelt them with this spell, Superheat Item. That requires me to use 1 nature rune and 4 fire runes for every single bar that I want to make. I need to make tens of thousands of bars to get to my goal, meaning I need tens of thousands of nature runes and even over 100,000 fire runes. Before I can even worry about how long the mining of all these ores is gonna take, I need to find a way to get these runes and get them quickly. This is Chunk Wizard. He wants to explore the entire map of RuneScape, but what he doesn't know is that the map is divided up into chunks, and he needs to do every task within a chunk before he's allowed to move on to the next one. So come with me as Chunk Wizard explores RuneScape one chunk at a time. And I'm right here in Draenor Bank, just haven't been standing here thinking, looking at the wiki, because I have a good few sources of nature runes that I can go through. Fire runes at the moment are actually my limiting resource. And all of them end up being monster drops. So I'm going to just stuff everything back into my bank and explore all the options that we have for different monsters that give me the runes that I need. Starting with a place that, if you've been here for a hot minute, you'll be familiar with, that being the Draenor sewers. And these are the first ones that can give me nature runes. The zombies that we have down here have a 1 in 128 chance to drop nature runes, and when they do, they drop them in stacks of 6 nature runes at a time. Please just give me nature runes as an example, you didn't. They're fairly rare. Also, that means that on average, they're giving me 1 nature rune every 21 or so kills. We're going to worry a little bit more about the exact numbers of the amount of nature runes that we're gonna need, but for now, let's assume that we need 10,000. We need a lot more, but to make the math easy, let's assume we just need 10,000. That would mean that to get to that point, I would need to kill about 200,000 of these zombies. And while just bouncing back and forth between them and not spawn camping them like I do right now, would be a fair bit faster. It wouldn't particularly help me all that much either. It would take a long, and I mean a very, very long time to get through that. The main side benefit being that I would be getting a good amount of grimy herbs that can stock up for whenever I unlock herb lore. Not something that I'm overly concerned about right this second. If we move on to the skeletons, specifically fighting the unarmed skeletons that we can fight back here somewhere. I believe despite this guy having a sword, he is technically classified as being unarmed. These also have a chance of dropping the same nature runes. Just like the zombies before, it's a 1 in 128 chance, except these would only drop 3 of them at a time. They take longer to kill. I only have 1 spawn of them because the skeletons back here are actually classified as something slightly different. This level 22 has a drop table that includes iron ore. This one includes bronze bars. That's the thing that we've been grinding out this for in the past. It's only this skeleton, or only that skeleton, I actually don't remember which one, but there's only 1 skeleton in here is the main point that's going to be dropping those nature runes. So we're going to be standing around waiting for 30 seconds between each kill, and we need to do twice as many kills to get the nature runes compared to the zombies. Obviously, even worse as an option. Definitely just straight up not gonna do that. The zombies have another upside, and that is that they can drop fire runes as well, because I don't just need nature runes, I need fire runes alongside that. Either that or a fire staff. So right now, zombies seem to be at the top of that tier list. But we're no longer confined to only Draenor Village, are we? We have unlocked a fair few chunks around us, so we can cast our nets a little wider and see what other monsters there are for us to take a look at. And one of them is back in our old home, at the Wizard's Tower. Remember when we got started there all the way back in the first handful of videos where I needed to flinch wizards and then eventually found trickery to make myself be able to kill them a little bit quicker? Going back here now, yeah, these are fairly easy to fight at my current level. Even while wearing melee armor, they're not doing that much against me. These also drop both fire runes and nature runes. They drop fire runes in stacks of 5, 1 in 42 times, and in stacks of 12, 1 in 64 times, while dropping 2 nature runes, 1 in 16 times. So let's leave the fire runes as a afterthought for now, and just focus on the nature runes. That means that I'm getting 1 nature rune every 8 or so kills. And you can see how quickly I'm able to go through and just massacre these wizards. I've done this before. I have absolutely destroyed the Wizard's Tower. And as you can see there, we've got us some fire runes. This definitely is a better option than the zombies. They just give me better rates for the nature runes, and they also give me a good rate for the fire runes as well. The only downside is they attack with magic, so I should be wearing my ranged gear ideally to protect against that a little bit more. As you can see, I'm killing them. Got some nature runes. We kill them fairly quickly with our current stats. I've got a pretty high defense level. My magic level is also pretty up there, so they splash a lot on me even though I'm wearing melee armor. Wizards seem to be maybe at the top of our list for the time being. Even though it would be very poetic to go back to the Wizard's Tower and commit another genocide against wizard kind, just like I did all the way back at the start, if we take a look at the Lumbridge swamp, we might find something intriguing in there as well. And before I can do that, I actually do need to get my candle because I need to go into the cave. I said I was never going to go back into that cave. I'm going back into that cave. Not quite immediately yet though, because we have frogs here on the surface. And while these frogs themselves don't drop nature runes directly, what they do give me is the potentiality to get clue scrolls. These big frogs can drop clue scrolls and have no chance in hell to damage me at all. The reason clue scrolls are relevant, and we'll probably circle back to clue scrolls a little later into the video, is because beginner clue scrolls have a pretty decent chance to get me a Staff of Fire. And the reason the frogs especially are interesting is because of these giant frogs. My chunk tasks don't just include a smithing grind, they also include me needing to get the curved bone, which is a 1 in 5,000 drops from these giant frogs, and these giant frogs also drop, it would have been really funny if it dropped it just there, but they also drop the same beginner clue scrolls. So over the course of grinding against these, I am very likely to get the amount of clue scrolls that I need to get at least some type of elemental staff, and hopefully that would be the fire staff. Well, that could potentially solve our fire rune issue. But why did I get the lit candle and the tinderbox if I'm just going to be standing around here and killing frogs in the swamp? That is because there are more powerful versions of both of these monsters down in the Lumbridge Swamp cave. The big frogs go from level 10 to level 24, and the giant frogs go from level 13 to level 99. In them becoming more powerful, they somehow gained the ability to drop nature runes, at the cost of no longer dropping clue scrolls. So we get into a bit of a balancing act there, right? Do we care about the clue scrolls and the speed of being able to kill these things and getting the curved bone? Or do we care about the nature runes, maybe killing them a little bit more AFK because they're higher level? That means they die a little bit slower, but they will be able to drop nature runes for us. These big frogs drop a stack of 4 nature runes every 18 or so kills. So that's 1 nature rune every 4 kills. Roughly. That is definitely an improvement over even the wizards, with the downside of there being no path to any fire-related rune or staff. And unfortunately for me, we need both nature and fire runes to accomplish what we need to do in this grind. So let's move on just one step deeper into this cave, because the level 99 giant frogs might just hold the key to our future. Hello there, my old friend. I've jumped across you about 7,000 times. Well, not quite, I used some XP lamps, but still. And this is the path that I need to take to get to the giant frogs all the way back here. Level 99. You've seen me probably kill these a little bit in previous videos, and in the first video that we had in this chunk, we very quickly figured out that, in fact, I knew I was gonna fall in. Killing these things just head-on with melee is a bad idea. They hit like a truck, because they are level 99. Their max hit is, I believe, an 8, and they are not particularly accurate against me, but they're also not inaccurate enough to the point where I can do this. I need to drink a couple of wines. I brought jugs of bad wine. I'm an idiot. I can probably do one kill without healing. I can prayer flick. Hold on, I can prayer flick if need be. But prayer flicking is not a reliable way to do this at all. I can't melee these. And in that same video, I also figured out that maging these goes remarkably easily. So enough yapping from me about how easy they are to kill or how difficult they are to kill. What is their nature rune rate and how do they potentially help me? They do drop a food source, to be fair, but how do they potentially help me toward fire runes as well? Well, the answer for fire runes is they don't. Nature runes is exactly why these guys are so interesting though. Because in their ammunition and rune drop table, they have 3 separate entries for nature runes, all of them being 1 in 13 chance. Either a stack of 1, 3 or 9. But this isn't a 1 in 13 chance to drop 1 to 9 nature runes. Each individual entry in this table has that 1 in 13 chance. So the chance of me rolling any of these 3 isn't 1 in 13, it is 3 in 13. Or otherwise, about 1 in 4.5. So great, you get nature runes 1 in 4.5 kills. How many nature runes do we get on average? Well, we just add the 1, the 3 and the 9, which are the possible options, divide them by 3, and we also get about 1 in 4.5. That means on average, these level 99 frogs drop 1 nature rune per kill. They are a 1-to-1 nature rune source. That's a little bit of a rounding error even. In practice, they drop more than 1 nature rune per kill. It ends up, if you don't do the in-between rounding that I've been doing in this video, at about 1.2 nature runes per kill. And since I likely need to kill about 5,000 giant frogs anyway for the curved bone, these seem like the perfect source of doing my nature rune grind. Even though they take a little while to kill, and they aren't, as you could see how much damage they did, even if I were to eat up, I would need to go bank way too often. The trip back and forth here is annoyingly long, so we need to safe spot these. And they have a 25% weakness to earth magic, which makes them remarkably easy and almost kind of quick to kill, considering their level. Because now that we're back up here, we find ourselves in a situation where we don't just need nature runes and fire runes now, we also need air runes and earth runes. So surely the wizard's tower over there is the way to go. Honestly, that is pretty much one of the best options that we have for us, because we've got so many different rune needs that are all covered by the wizard's drop table. But I'm still not entirely convinced about doing a monster for so long that doesn't drop clue scrolls. Because if I can get a monster that can drop clue scrolls, I can make all of my earth and air runes go twice as far. At that point, my chaos and mind runes become the only bottleneck for combat. Because I can use the air staff along with earth runes, and then when the earth runes run out, I can use the earth staff along with air runes. Not even to mention the fact that the fire staff would eliminate the entire fire rune issue for the smithing grind as well. So do I need to make a choice now between rune drops and clue scroll drops? Well, actually no, because remarkably, there is a single monster that I have access to that both has good rune drops and the possibility of dropping a clue scroll. And that would be this guy right here. There's actually 2 of them. The Dark Wizards. They are an even lower level than a normal wizard, but they have a drop table that suits me even better. They are easier to kill, they have a lot lower HP, their max hit is only a 2, so alongside the fact that they are not gonna hit me half the time anyway, when they do hit me, they don't hit that hard, and their drops are more in favor of what I need. They have 2 entries for every single elemental rune drop, in stacks of 10 or in stacks of 18, but specifically Earth runes they have 1 more entry for, dropping 36 of them 1 in 32 times. It's like these guys were specifically made for what I need, Earth rune farming, because more Earth runes means more easier kills against the frogs. They also drop Chaos runes in batches of 5 every 20 or so kills, Mind runes in batches of 10 every 40 or so kills, and Nature runes in batches of 4 every 18 or so kills, which averages out for all of those to 1 rune per 4 or 5 kills. Then they drop beginner clues 1 in 50 times. And with the amount of wizards that I'm going to need to kill to get the runes that I need to kill the frogs, I am very likely to come across enough steps that I can do to get at least a casket or 2 throughout this grind. So that is the plan, is killing dark wizards, which works toward the nature rune grind directly. It works toward the fire rune grind if I don't end up getting a fire staff. It stocks me up for a more efficient way to get nature runes, because it gets me all of the runes I need for combat spells. And it has a possibility of getting me elemental staffs, which will help in any of a variety of different ways of making this grind a little bit more bearable. So we'll do a handful of Dark Wizard kills, and when I say handful, I mean a couple thousand Dark Wizard kills. We stock up materials, we go down to the caves, we kill some frogs, which is a more AFK method than killing the Dark Wizards. It takes a little bit longer. All the while, as I'm getting nature runes and fire runes directly from this grind, I can also just start making a dent in the smithing grind itself, because I'm still not even at level 50 smithing. I still need 7,000 experience to get there in the first place. And as I'm working on that, let's talk a little bit about how many nature runes I actually need for this, and how many fire runes, assuming I don't get a Staff of Fire. Because I've been saying about 10,000 as a just placeholder figure throughout this entire journey. And 10,000 is not even close to correct. Assuming I'm at level 50 already, because the level 49 to level 50 amount is negligible in the whole scale of the grind, how many nature runes will it take me to get to level 70, at which point I can start doing adamant? To get to level 70, I will need a total of 737,627 experience. But we can subtract the amount of experience that I already have, reaching level 50, which would be 101,333. That means that between level 50 and level 70, I need to get 636,294 experience. How many mithril bars is that? Well, smelting a mithril bar, which is a part of what we're going to be doing, because we're getting them from ores, gives me 30 experience per bar, and then processing that bar, no matter what I process it into, how many of them I process at a time, I always get 50 experience per mithril bar per processing action. That means that a single mithril bar, going from mining to turning it into most likely largely mithril knives, gets me 80 experience per bar. So we take that figure from before, divided by 80, and that means that the portion of level 50 to level 70 takes about 8,000 nature runes. At that point we can start doing adamant, and adamant is level 70 to level 88. Now we need to get to 4.3 million experience, starting at the 700,000 that we already had. So real quick math, that means we need to get another 3.6 million experience. How much does an adamant bar between smelting and smithing it give us? Well, this is the bad news, not that much more. Adamant bars give 37.5 experience when they are smelted, and then 62.5 experience when they are processed, adding up to only being 100 experience per bar. That means we need to smelt and process 36,500 adamant bars on top of the 8,000 mithril that we already did. Altogether, if we just round that to a nice number, we get to 45,000 nature runes needed to get us through to level 88. And this is what we are going to figure out from here. How long is that going to take us with our current method? It's been almost 3 hours. These are the runes that I've gotten so far. I'm going to go and do some of the frog kills. I'll just deposit the bones and this and this. Remember, to hour 50 is when I stopped killing wizards. I'm going to cut out the time between now and when I actually start killing the frogs. With Earth Strike here, mostly, because it is the most efficient damage per rune that we got. The moment we have some more staffs, we can start using the bolt spells as well, if we have enough air runes and then earth runes to go through all mind runes and then also have chaos runes left over. We're not going to have a lot of air runes to go around. We don't even have enough air runes to use up all our mind runes, to be frank with you. Now that we're here, we just turn on run real quick and we attack you and we move back into here, safe spots. And we can just kind of hang out for as long as we have casts to hit you with. It takes a while to kill a single one of these giant frogs, admittedly. Definitely nowhere near as quick to kill as the Dark Wizards, but this is kind of the plan. If I can stock up a lot of casts by killing Dark Wizards, I might have an hour, a few hours stocked up of AFK killing these things, because I definitely cannot reliably AFK the Dark Wizards. They're too high intensity to do that. Of course, the kills per hour are not going to be super high, but their drop rate for the runes that I'm looking for should compensate for that and still be a comparable nature rune per hour deal, or even better nature runes per hour than the Dark Wizards themselves. By the way, I think we got here at about 7 minutes past where we left, so we're just going to subtract 7 or so minutes from the final count there. About halfway through, a little over halfway through, and I've only had 7 frog kills so far, so my sample size is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15, 16. Not very much, considering that the drops that I'm looking for are about 1 in 12 each. So 3 hours, a little under 3 hours of grinding for runes gets me about 10 kills worth of giant frogs. The majority... Oh, there we go. That actually worked out perfectly, because I did get 12 runes of 10 kills, which is the ratio that we would expect. 3 hours and 8 minutes. I'm just going to call that 3 hours flat, because we're going to subtract 7 minutes from our total. 3 hours to get 136 nature runes. But that ends up, interestingly enough, with 45 nature runes per hour, while we need to get 45,000 of them. So that is straight up a 1,000 hour grind. To get the runes, that doesn't even consider the actual mining and smithing time included. Although compared to the 1,000 hours that the runes are going to take me, I expect that the actual mining and smithing is relatively trivial. Now, if I did have an air staff, I would be able to stick around longer and have gotten more kills there. Focusing on getting those clue scrolls, getting those caskets, and getting the air and potentially also the earth staff might allow us to stay at the frogs for longer and get more runes per hour. Even if that's just a 10% increase to something like 50 runes per hour, that will shave off 100 hours off of this grind. But now though, I did get some fire runes and some nature runes off of just this experiment, which is really quite nice. And with how insanely long this grind and this chunk are going to take, I've decided to start up a secondary little side series. Unrelated from Chunk Wizard, just taking a different challenge in old school RuneScape and having a little bit of fun with that. There's going to be droughts of weeks or even months at a time of me just doing rune gathering and mining, and it's just going to be really dry to watch. You don't want me to make videos saying, today I mined 10,000 more coal, because that's not interesting. Next upload is going to be the first episode of that series. It's not going to be a super long-term thing. It's going to have an end goal in mind that we're just going to work toward, just give you something else to enjoy and watch, and me something else to do on the side. So make sure you subscribe for that, because it's going to be a fun one, and if you want to check it out right now, like all videos on the channel, there's 1 week early access for members and patrons, so you can actually go check it out right now. So let's make a little bit of room in the inventory by just using this up on crafting. For smithing, it's not going to make that big of a difference, and we do need to get the crafting level up at some point somehow, so might as well. And with that, 1 more slot in the inventory. I'm going to just do 1 or 2 inventories worth of iron, just to use up all the coal that I have in the bank. with all the runes that I've just gained. I'm running real low on coal already, only half an inventory of iron to go, and then I either need to power mine my way to level 30 mining, or I need to go back to just using iron. I think I'm gonna go with a power mining option. Anything to save runes at this point. I don't want to use a single nature rune that I don't need to. I'm gonna leave it off here. I need to power mine my way up to level 30 so that I can start mining coal and actually get all this stuff done. And then the dreaded Mithril is gonna have its turn, ruining my life.